Okay, so I must admit, I am not a country singer, but I do. The song actually kind of like goes, it doesn't really go. Kia ora and welcome. My name is ZoeStibi and I am your vocal coach for today. In today's vocal analysis, we're taking a look at Miranda Lambert and Langley with Kerosene. I'm so excited. I don't know Ella Langley, but I'm a massive Miranda Lambert fan, so let's see what she's up to with her vocal technique.
Come on, y'all. Here we go. I'm waiting on the sun to set. Yesterday ain't over yet. I started smoking cigarettes. There's nothing else to do, I guess. Just the road ain't made for walking. Spinning tires ain't made for stopping.
Okay, so I must admit, I am not a country singer, but I do love their voices. And honestly, a lot of these vocal choices that they're making are very similar to what we would use in rock, even musical theater, and even sometimes in classical singing, depending on what type. There's obviously a massive range. So what we've got we've got two lovely completely different timbres in their voices. So we've got this Miranda da 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 da. So we're on the E4 there. She's definitely in a thicker vocal fold, but the reason why the timbre is so bright is not only because of her natural accent with a setup of a higher larynx, also a little bit of twang going on there, and probably a high tongue position. Let's just have another look at that, because Ella's got a completely different timbre.
I'm waiting on the sun to set. Yesterday ain't over yet. I started smoking cigarettes. There's nothing else to do, I guess.
Okay, so we're actually on the F sharp 4, sorry. So we got, I started smoking cigarettes. So that's a little bit to do with the larynx being a little bit lower. I feel like Ella's bringing in a little bit of started smoking cigarettes. It's also a little bit of the mouth position. And the tongue root, just a little bit of tension going on there in order to make that kind of, we would call this cursive singing, where it sounds like, I started smoking cigarettes, there's nothing left to do, I guess. And I'm not trying to make fun of Ella in any way, shape, or form. This is just how I would produce a sound. I do not sing like that, and so that's very far away from where I would usually sing. No disrespect to Ella, it sounds absolutely beautiful. She's sounding lovely when she's doing it.
I started smoking cigarettes. There's nothing else to do, I guess. Just the road ain't made for walking. Spinning tires ain't made for stopping. I'm giving up on love, 'cause love's giving up on me. Forget your high society. I'm soaking it in kerosene. Well, I light 'em up and I watch 'em burn. Teach 'em what they need to learn.
So can you also hear there as well with that, I watch them on my keyboard learn on the number do. So again, a lot of this country sound has to do with the twang going on. Now, twang doesn't have to be nasal, okay? So twang can either be nasal, or it can be oral. So a lot of people hear these sounds and like, oh, it's so nasal. It doesn't have to be, actually. And I really don't think that Miranda Lambert is singing nasally at all. There's nothing left to do. So we've got, again, that high larynx, thicker vocal fold closure. It's almost like she's speaking on pitch because we've got very little vibrato, which I'll tell you about why that is in the next little break.
Forget your high society. I'm soaking it in kerosene. Well, I light 'em up and I watch 'em burn. Teach 'em what they need to learn. Dirty hands ain't made for shaking. Ain't a rule that ain't worth breaking.
So you can also see the way in which that their mouth shapes are really, really similar. They're hardly moving their mouths over. Well, actually, for most mere mortals, that would be very difficult. But because of the setup of their natural accents, this is actually quite Well, I'm sure they've also had to practice because they've been both working at their voices for a long time. And we know Miranda has been around for a very long time as a professional performer. That means that the tongue has to be quite far forward in the mouth. And as I say, it's really a lot to do with the setup of the way that you speak has a huge role to play in whether you find this easy or not.
Dirty hands ain't made for shaking. Ain't a rule that ain't worth breaking. Well, I'm giving up on love, 'cause love is giving up on me. Ha! How we doing tonight, Texas? Now I don't hate the one who led. You can't hate someone that's dead. He's out there holding on someone. I'm holding on my smoking gun. That's right. I thought the wind made my plane, but then she changes her last name.
It's interesting though, isn't it? When they're singing together, it almost sounds like they're singing two different notes, but they're not. And that's often the case when you have people who have two completely different type of timbres, because it fits really, really well actually. So we've got Alia. I really think that this is the first time ever hearing this song. So we've got a slightly lowered tongue position there. And I think that's really kind of with probably a little bit of tongue tension. And that's why we're kind of getting that darker timbre. Again, I feel like I'm disrespecting her, but I'm not trying to. I'm just playing around with how that sound would sound in my own voice. And I really do encourage you to do that as well with your singing. Play with it. If you're really doing any sort of real damage to your voice, if you scratch, catch, or cough. And I'm over trying to scare people into learning how to sing in a way that makes everything easier for them from like scaring you into vocal technique. You should want to learn to sing because you want to learn to make it easier and not because you're like so fearful that you're doing it wrong.
How we doing tonight, Texas? Now I don't hate the one who led. You can't hate someone that's dead. He's out there holding on someone. I'm holding on my smoking gun. That's right. I thought the wind made my plane, but then she changes her last name. Well, I'm giving up on love, 'cause love's giving up on me. Y'all sing it if you know it. Are you ready? Well, I'm giving up on love. Hey, love's giving up on me. Miss Miranda Lambert. Miss Ella Langley, y'all.
Why are the Backstreet Boys at the ACM Awards? So that's a bit strange to see them there, but cool. Anyway, so you can also hear and I love leaving these little bits in where they talk at the end. You heard Alice speaking at the end there, and then it sounds pretty much identical to the way that she sings. We heard Miranda speaking, and it sounds pretty much identical to the way that she was singing. So it doesn't have to be the case, but I really like to get students to have a feel of where their speaking voices finish and their singing voices start, because it is a really lovely base for our singing voice. And I have a 3-day challenge for you to find that from where you start to speak and move into your singing. You can check it out down below. So up here, I was just checking. This song actually kind of like goes, it doesn't really go anywhere, but those are often the hardest songs to sing because we don't have a whole lot of crazy fireworks happening with the vocals in order for us to hide anything. So I really, really like both of their energy. And this would actually be a really good song if someone was working on their chest voice. Let's just watch that last little bit again. I feel like it's very similar, samey for the vocal, to be honest.
On my smoking gun. That's right. I thought the wind made my plane, but then she changes her last name. Well, I'm giving up on
So I did say that there was going to be a big reason as to why one sounded more sung than the other, or why we've got closed straight tone with less vibrato. And that's to do with our thyroid cartilage. So where the vocal folds live in here, it's called the thyroid. And when we turn on a vibrato, when we want to turn on a vibrato, we need to tip the larynx forward, or the thyroid cartilage forward, in order to allow the vocal folds to thin a little bit. And it just softens the tone a little bit. And that's sort of one of the main that is one of the main differences between speaking and singing. And you can hear with both of them, they didn't really have a hell of a lot of vibrato in their sound. That doesn't mean that they're only just speaking on pitch, but it means that they've got a tiny amount. So, rather than, ain't giving up on me. You can hear one has quite a considerable amount more vibrato. It sounds almost like a little bit softer, rounder. And then this one, ain't giving up on me. It sounds like a little bit straighter in the tone. Now, this is kind of getting into the finesse of singing when you're really wanting to make sure that you're sounding more sung than just spoken on pitch. And that is something that you really do need to have one-to-one singing lessons for, because it's really about getting personalized feedback. I could give you all of the tips in the world, but if I don't see you sing and really listen to what's going on, then I can help you further with that. So you can apply for one-to-one singing lessons down in the description below. I love both of these singers. I cannot wait. Let me know down in the comments what you think I should have a look at next. And if you've enjoyed this video, I would love it if you subscribe to this channel, because honestly, it really helps me to carve out more of my working week to spend more time with you here on YouTube, to hang out and chat shit about vocal technique. And that's what I'm all about. So check out we had a look at Kelly Clarkson and Miranda, so you can check them out up here and have a look at what we were talking about. Similar sort of vocal technique going on as it is here. So have an awesome rest today. Happy singing. Ka kite anō.